The greatest is gone. Muhammad Ali, three-time heavyweight champion and arguably the world's most famous athlete, died last night at a Phoenix area hospital.
They said it would never be opened, that it was sacred, untouchable. When Muhammad Ali, the greatest boxer the world has ever known, was laid to rest in Louisville, Kentucky, it was supposed to be forever. Buried with Islamic honor, surrounded by family and dignitaries, his final resting place became a symbol of peace. But now, 9 years later, something has changed. A quiet excavation, a government-sanctioned research team, and a discovery so unbelievable, so unexpected, that those involved have reportedly been sworn to secrecy. The official reason? Soil testing. The real reason? Far more shocking. Reports leaked from anonymous insiders claim that something inside Ali's sealed crypt left scientists speechless, a mystery that challenges not only science, but everything we thought we knew about the man behind the legend. What did they find beneath the surface? Why was the operation never made public? And why are those who saw it unwilling to speak? This is the story the world was never supposed to hear. When Muhammad Ali passed away on June 3, 2016, the world mourned as one. Presidents, kings, and celebrities gathered in Louisville to honor a man whose fists shook the world and whose words stirred revolutions. But beyond the memorials and televised tributes, his burial was deeply personal, an Islamic ceremony carried out with the utmost respect, just as he had requested. Laid to rest at Cave Hill Cemetery, the champ's grave became a quiet pilgrimage site for fans across the globe, and for nearly a decade, it remained untouched. No disturbances, no controversies, just the legend sleeping beneath the earth. But in late 2024, murmurs began. At first, they came from researchers working on a geological survey near Cave Hill. Strange magnetic anomalies. Fluctuations in the subsurface readings. Harmless, they thought. Until one scan revealed something metallic. Large, uniform, and buried exactly where Ali's tomb stood. It made no sense. There was never supposed to be metal in the grave. No casket of that type had been used. No vault installed. And then came the most perplexing detail. The object appeared to be emitting low-frequency vibrations, too rhythmic, too consistent to be natural. That's when officials stepped in, quietly. A research team, said to be affiliated with a private scientific institute, but rumored to be backed by federal interests, was given access to the cemetery after dark. Cameras were prohibited. Phones were surrendered. The public was told nothing. It wasn't an exhumation, they insisted. It was an environmental scan. But insiders paint a different picture. They say the tomb was opened. They say what they found shocked even the most skeptical scientists in the group. Because when the sarcophagus was revealed, it was not the expected cemented crypt they had prepared to see. Instead, it was sealed in an unmarked metallic casing, something no family member had ever approved and no burial record reflected. Its surface bore strange inscriptions, Arabic, yes, but also markings that no one could identify. The casing was untouched by corrosion, gleaming beneath the floodlights like it had been placed there only yesterday. The air around it was cooler, denser, electric, and then something even more confusing happened. When the researchers tried to open the casing, just slightly, just enough to peek inside, every electronic device nearby reportedly short-circuited. Laptops, drones, even the LED rig. It was as if the object repelled observation. A few team members reportedly backed away, shaken. One source claimed that when they touched the casing, it felt alive, humming, vibrating like a heartbeat. Was it a sealed container? A shield? Or something else? And if Muhammad Ali had indeed been buried in a standard Islamic ceremony, how could such an object have found its way into his grave unnoticed? These questions led to panic at the highest levels. The site was resealed by sunrise. The official narrative resumed. Nothing had happened. The tomb was never opened. But those who were there tell a different story. A story so strange, so unbelievable, that it could only be buried. Just like Ali. What if the secrets buried with Muhammad Ali were never meant to be hidden forever? What if the greatest fighter of all time left behind more than just a legacy of courage and conviction, but a plan? In the months following the mysterious opening of the tomb, anonymous sources from within the scientific team began to share what little they had managed to preserve. One document in particular stood out, a faded, leather-bound journal, reportedly found in a sealed side compartment of the metallic casing that enclosed Ali's sarcophagus. The pages were fragile, but the writing inside was unmistakable. It was Ali's. Verified by handwriting experts and marked with his personal calligraphy, the journal was real. And its contents? Beyond belief. It wasn't a diary in the traditional sense. There were no daily entries or reflections on training. Instead, the journal contained a series of cryptic notes, quotes from the Quran, and references to ancient African cosmology. Ali wrote about dreams, vivid prophetic visions he claimed had followed him since childhood. In one section, he described being visited in sleep by a man of light surrounded by rings of flame, who told him that his purpose in this life was only a shadow of what he would become in the next. The journal went on to discuss a second awakening, something Ali referred to only as the Great Return. One passage read, "My fists may silence men, but my silence will awaken generations." When the box opens, so too does the veil lift. Another chilling entry read, "They will say I was a fighter, but I was a signal. Watch for the tremor beneath the stone, even more strange." Some of the pages included detailed star charts, planetary alignments, and lunar cycles, all dated for 2025 through 2029. Experts who reviewed these notes couldn't make sense of them. Why would a boxer, a man known for his charisma, bravado, and showmanship, be writing about celestial gateways and interdimensional veils? Some dismissed the writings as poetic ramblings. Others weren't so sure, especially not after comparing them to the symbols found etched on the metallic casing. According to a linguistic specialist brought in discreetly by the research team, several markings matched glyphs from Dogon mythology, an ancient Malian belief system known for its eerily accurate astronomical knowledge, including the invisible star Sirius B, which wasn't officially discovered by Western science until the 20th century. Could Ali have known about this? Did someone from his inner circle expose him to this knowledge during his spiritual reawakening in the 1970s? After all, he had traveled extensively to Africa, met with world leaders, and was deeply influenced by both Islamic mysticism and Black revolutionary thought. But the most perplexing part of the journal wasn't spiritual at all. It was logistical. Tucked into the back of the book were sketches, blueprints even, of the metallic container, of the burial site, of something resembling an underground chamber. This suggested premeditation, that Ali had planned for this object to be buried with him, without the knowledge of the public or even his closest family. One insider suggested it was a time capsule, while another described it as something far more advanced. But why the secrecy? Why the cryptic instructions? Why the constant references to being awakened again? And here's where the story turns darker. Following the leaked pages of the journal, the research team was reportedly disbanded. Their credentials were pulled from university websites. One anonymous team member claimed their laptop had been wiped remotely. Another received a cease and desist from a high-level government agency, warning of national security implications if they continued to discuss unauthorized archaeological activity. Whatever was found, someone didn't want it known. What's left now are questions. Did Ali truly believe he was part of something bigger than life? Something spiritual, cosmic, even divine? Was this object in his tomb meant to preserve something, or protect us from it? And more importantly, was this his final fight, one fought in silence, meant to outlive even his name? In the weeks following the mysterious operation at Muhammad Ali's tomb, a sense of unease began to ripple through the few who knew what really happened. It wasn't just the secrecy. It wasn't just the cryptic journal. It was what came after. The inexplicable disturbances, the data that didn't add up, and the strange, unshakable sensation that something beneath the surface was awake. Among the most disturbing reports was one shared by a former sound engineer affiliated with the excavation team. He claimed that when they first set up seismic sensors around the site to test for structural shifts or buried objects, they picked up a constant low-frequency hum. At first, they thought it was machinery from the city, but when they shut down the surrounding equipment, the sound continued. More alarmingly, it wasn't just noise. It had rhythm. The waveform, when analyzed, resembled a heartbeat, or more accurately, a chant, repeating every 9.7 seconds. No known geological source could explain it. The vibration was localized, confined to the area just beneath the tomb. One member of the team, a geophysicist, suggested it was a residual echo caused by metal interference. Another called it biological in pattern. But when they placed microphones directly above the tomb, the hum transformed into something else. It was faint, barely audible, but unmistakably a voice. And it was speaking Arabic, repeating the same phrase over and over. If you're just discovering this now, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because stories like this aren't easy to tell, and they certainly aren't meant to stay online for long.
What you're hearing now
May not be available tomorrow. Back to the story. The researchers, shaken, tried to record the audio, but each time their equipment malfunctioned. Static, corrupted files. Once, an entire hard drive was wiped clean after a direct attempt to isolate the chant. Only one fragment survived, a 7-second video clip that briefly surfaced on an encrypted forum posted under a burner account that vanished within hours. In the video, you see a grainy shot of the tomb under halogen lights. A group of scientists gathered nervously around a handheld monitor. Suddenly, the audio shifts from static to clarity, and there it is. The voice, not booming, not cinematic, just a whisper, calm, steady, looping in Arabic. The scientists freeze. One backs away, another begins to cry. The clip ends abruptly. Forum users downloaded the file, but within 24 hours, every mirror link was taken down, and those who tried to repost it received DMCA takedown threats, some allegedly from agencies that don't even exist publicly. It was as if someone was watching, scrubbing, controlling. Then came the electromagnetic anomalies.
Nearby neighborhoods reported random power outages, flickering lights, cell signal interference, and even mild tremors, none of which were confirmed by the city.
Residents living near Cave Hill Cemetery described a low droning sound at night. Dogs barked at nothing. Compasses spun. Local radio stations experienced bursts of static during the same windows of time. What's even stranger? One retired military contractor claimed that Cave Hill was added to a satellite surveillance grid in early 2025, something typically reserved for national monuments or strategic assets. Why would Muhammad Ali's grave suddenly become a point of interest at that level? And why were private researchers, university teams, and journalists quietly warned off the site shortly after? All signs point to something being discovered, something powerful, perhaps not even fully understood. Whether it's a natural phenomenon, a forgotten artifact, or something beyond comprehension. The only thing we know is this: Ali's tomb is no longer just a resting place. It is a site of activity, of whispers, of energy. The greatest fighter of all time may be gone, but something of him remains, not just in memory but in presence. And as the chant beneath the ground continues, one question echoes louder than all the rest. What exactly did Muhammad Ali leave behind? And why now? What happened next was swift, clinical, and absolute. Within days of the electromagnetic incidents, Cave Hill Cemetery was quietly locked down. At first, the excuse was routine maintenance, but local reporters noticed an unusual influx of unmarked vehicles, dark SUVs, white utility trucks with no company logos, and individuals wearing gear that looked more military than municipal. Visitors were turned away. Security was tightened, all while no public statement was issued. Then came the blackout, not literal but informational. Media outlets that attempted to cover the oddities were stonewalled. University researchers associated with the original scanning project either went silent or disassociated from the work entirely. Their LinkedIn profiles were deleted, their published work removed. It was as if their involvement had never existed. Meanwhile, whispers continued online, fragments of logs, scrambled screenshots, second-hand testimony. But the story was now fully underground, buried under layers of plausible deniability. And yet, one final piece would escape the lockdown. One that would rewrite everything, according to a leaked memo, allegedly, part of a classified communication between intelligence, analysts, and a private lab. The markings on Ali's sarcophagus had been partially decoded. Not just the Arabic verses or the Dogon symbols, but a separate cipher, a mathematical sequence etched into the inner lid of the casing, invisible under normal light. Using ultraviolet spectrum analysis, Scientists discovered what they referred to as a temporal code, a string of prime numbers and astral coordinates that, when calculated, pointed to a specific date. But why that date? What event was it counting toward? Was it symbolic, prophetic, or something worse, a signal? Theories exploded in the hidden corners of the internet. Some claimed Ali had been in possession of ancient knowledge, passed down through African oral traditions and Sufi mystics, knowledge that tied the cycles of human consciousness to celestial rhythms. Others believed he had discovered something during his travels to Zaire, where folklore speaks of warriors of the star path who carry messages across lifetimes. Then there are the more grounded but no less disturbing theories, that Ali had been exposed to classified technologies, or that his influence was so vast, so powerful, that certain groups feared what he might leave behind. But those who knew him best remember something different. They remember a man deeply spiritual, often misunderstood, who saw his body not as the final word, but as a temporary vessel. They recall his final years, when Parkinson's had quieted his voice, but not his mind, and how he would often sit in silence, staring at the sky, scribbling notes in a leather-bound journal no one was allowed to read. When asked what he was thinking, he would smile and say, and maybe that's the truth. Maybe Muhammad Ali's greatest battle wasn't in the ring at all. Maybe it wasn't against Sonny Liston or George Foreman. Maybe it was against time itself. Against being forgotten. Against the idea that a man's purpose ends when his body does. Maybe that's why he left symbols instead of silence, a pulse instead of a coffin, a whisper beneath the dirt that even now refuses to stop. As we reach the 9-year mark since his passing, the question is no longer whether something is happening. It's what it means. The countdown continues. The tomb remains sealed again, but the chant is said to have returned in recent weeks. Quiet, rhythmic, and unchanged. And so, we are left with this, a sealed grave, a silenced team, and a date drawing closer. Whether it's prophecy, paranoia, or something far more mysterious, one thing is clear. Muhammad Ali's final message wasn't shouted from the ring. It was whispered from the grave.